as an architect, I like to think that architecture has power to set up relationships, to enable curiosity, or to create settings for different kinds of experiences. So when we talk about spaces for learning, we're really talking about conditions that produce that kind of magic. I would also say that we're also learning about learning continuously, so it's not like we figured it out. I like to think that architecture can enable teachers to also experiment, try different things. We all remember maybe a teacher standing in front of a blackboard and describing things to us. And there was a kind of sender-receiver relationship between the teacher and the student. I think today we think about learning in different ways, less hierarchical. We talk about learning together, learning from each other, learning in the round. We're no longer speaking at a blackboard, and it's no longer a one-way communication. So we like to think that designing a school of the future can take advantage of all these wonderful learnings, but also be open to how we will learn in the future. Different technologies, different cultures, different kinds of social relations, different kinds of architecture. So the architecture of the school of the future needs to be flexible to allow for those different kinds of environments that will be adaptive in the future. Creating environments that are immersive and inspiring, spaces of wonder, not just spaces of instruction. We are imagining that some students will come from outside, some students will come from within. I was picturing the itinerary of a student, from the home to the classroom. They might come down the elevator, walk across a garden, meet a friend, take a detour, arrive at the school, go through, greet their friends, greet the principal, end up in the classroom. And so we like to think about the experiences, not just the room itself. Certainly arriving at the school through a garden environment, I would say nature is the first teacher. Seeing the trees, the wildlife, experiencing climate. I think these are all part of the more expanded understanding of learning and teaching. And I think it's no accident that the word kindergarten has garden in it. The natural environment is a site of wonder, and it's a site of exploration and investigation. So the fact that it's embedded within a landscape and the architecture takes on the qualities of landscape, or a landform building, which is kind of continuous with the architecture. So between architecture and landscape, try to blur the line. So we do think we're creating a total environment for the children and the teachers to interact and have that alchemy of learning. We've been interviewing principal, teachers, operations and maintenance people, but also students. We heard wonderful stories from the students about their experience in the schools. In our first Zoom meeting with the students, a fourth grader asked me if I'd ever designed a school before. But they also described their day in their life and what they experienced coming to school, their favorite part of the day, their favorite part of the school. We heard a lot about the play field and sports and getting muddy and coming back to school. One of the principals described, he said, it's important for the kids to go outside and do a lot of activity, come back in, and he wants them to be dirty and muddy and have experienced something. So we've heard a lot of wonderful feedback about what makes the schools great and what they're looking for from a school. Of course, you talk to 10 people, you get 10 different opinions. And so we've been listening very carefully, taking important information, and we're folding it in as we go. So more flexibility, storage, they're very practical things, but there's also the kind of open-ended. In fact, one of the students, a fourth grader, said the school should be open-ended, meaning we don't know what it's going to be, and it needs to be able to become other things. One of the fourth graders said, the mango tree in the fields is the place where memories are made. I thought, that's so beautiful that they can think about their school that way. So we want to make it a place for memories to be made, a place for, wonder to take hold. I absolutely think architecture has the capacity to inspire, to invite, and to bring people together. So I do think architecture does play that role. If you sit in a room with no windows versus a room with three walls and a garden, if you sit in a room that's organized around the center or organized, these are basic relationships that structure human interactions between different humans, not just human to space relationships. So absolutely, I think the materials, the acoustics, the quality of light, the kind of fresh air, all these things set up the environment for students to be able to focus, to be able to concentrate, to have great ideas. So I think it's not just architecture, it's the full environment that we create that makes students, that sort of sets them up for success, that sort of inspires them, pushes them to have more creative ideas. And we really do believe that that's the power of design, to set up those relationships that will produce that kind of alchemy of learning.